Hey everybody, Soul and Shine on coming to you with thoughts for the weekend for this Friday, Ides of March 2013. Well, I didn't talk about economic numbers or anything last week. I was sick last Friday and didn't really put out a video, just a real quick one. But yeah, the no shocker unemployment down to 7.7%. You can just feel the improvement out there, right? I mean, it's just getting better and better and better. I mean, I know business is booming and wages are up and I guess they're not. Yeah, the unemployment rate fell down to 7.7% in February, which is tremendous. It's like, wow, 0.2% drop in the unemployment rate is just absolutely fabulous. I mean, we're doing great things in this economy. Stock market's at an all-time high. It's on a 10-day win streak. Woohoo! You start looking at the numbers, and you realize, well, how are things getting better yet not at the same time? Well, if we look at that pesky little number, the U6 number, which looks at all unemployment, that's where things start to fall apart, because we see that people not in the labor force, that's the people that they just toss out because it's not convenient to count them. We just say that, oh, they're not looking for work anymore. They haven't found a job in 2 years or more than 2 years, so they're obviously not looking for work, because if they were, they'd find it, right? Yeah, not so much. We saw that number increase again, 89.3 million people. So the increase of almost 300,000 people removed from the labor pool. That's how you get your number to drop from 7.9 down to 7.7. We saw that CPI for this month jumped its highest in many, many years. CPI was up huge. Not surprising. It's the highest in 12 months, not years, and it's just ridiculous. And most of that was driven by fuel, gas, energy, heating oil, and food. But you know, when you pull those things out, because you don't need those things to survive, what you need is apparel and appliances and iTunes cards. Then we see that CPI really didn't go up that much. You know, 0.2%. So real minor. So, you know, when we take out the things that you don't need, you know, food, oil, electricity, and just keep it at the simple things that you do need, the real basics in life, then really no change in consumer price index. So you're not paying more, everything's getting better, go back to sleep. You know, I don't know if you're like me, but you start looking around at what's going on in the world and you start thinking there's kind of a disconnect, right? I mean, we hear about how things are getting better all the time and things are great, and yet the war drums are being beat louder and louder. And I don't know if it's just all the noise coming out of Washington that makes it harder for us to hear the drums. But you know, last week you had John Kerry coming out saying that Iran was getting closer to a nuke. You have Obama coming out yesterday saying Iran is about a year away from a nuke. Everyone's saying that, you know, if one country in that region gets a nuke, then they're all going to try to get a nuke. You know, it's arms race all over again. Anyone else feeling a little queasy about the future? You know, is World War III right around the corner? Because I guarantee you, if there's an event in the Middle East that involves Iran, that you're going to see Russia and China jump in to defend Iran or to back them. You've got the U.S. saying that they'll step up and help some of the other countries in the area. You know, the UK would jump in. I mean, it probably wouldn't be too far of a stretch to see that, you know, it wouldn't take very much. Just one little match into the tinderbox, and you would have multiple nations jumping in, going to war. You already have North Korea, loose cannon going on over there. That man's crazy. He's just, the rhetoric coming out of North Korea is incredible. It's coming out faster than ever before. This man's obviously more crazy than his uncle was, if that's even possible. You know, they've canceled or nullified the ceasefire agreement from 1953, Korean War, saying that they've severed the, I guess, the hotline between the two countries to keep communications open. They've severed that in the last few days, threatening the United States with thermonuclear war. But we don't take him seriously because he's just, I mean, I feel bad for the North Korean people, I really do. Because they have no information, they have no food, they're hungry, they're tired, they've just been carrying on under this threat of destruction by the West for many decades now. They're tired. I think they'll just do anything just to make it end. I'll put a link to Telegraph has a page on Asia and specifically North Korea, and look at all the events that have happened regarding North Korea in the last week, and it's not looking good for them either. I don't think it'll be too long before something happens. And even if North Korea does something, fire some shells across, launches a rocket or a missile across, the southern border into South Korea or Japan, I'm not sure that anyone's heart will be in it as far as how hard do we attack them back. Unless the North Koreans start streaming down across the border, carrying more than just a bowl and chopsticks looking for food, but carrying guns, then I'm not sure how serious we'll take them, because it's more like it's the pesky little kid that just keeps wanting to throw spitballs, and they really aren't very strong, and they're not going to hurt you if they do anything. So it's just like, go away, kid, you bother me, kind of thing. But still, the connection between North Korea, China, Russia, Russia and Iran and Syria and some of these other hotbeds around the world. You've got, I don't know what craziness is going on with Venezuela, with Hugo Chavez dying, and, was he poisoned by the U.S. or did he die months ago? And who knows? So, a lot of crazy things going on. All I can say is just prepare, keep preparing, prepare, because if it's not economic, it may be something else that kind of throws a wrench into things and really makes for a bad day for you and me. On the personal freedoms side of things, there was a story that caught my eye regarding how Colorado has followed a couple other states in passing legalized marijuana laws. And, in my opinion, states have the right. California passed it, even though the federal government has cracked down trying to stop these marijuana dispensaries. Now you have a new push coming in. This comes from former DEA officials and the UN. That's right, the UN, trying to urge the government to enforce UN drug trafficking treaties as a way to nullify all of the state marijuana laws, all the passage of allowing marijuana dispensaries and so forth, legalization of marijuana. So we see this UN intrusion not just in things like firearms, but now we're seeing it in, marijuana, drug laws. I don't know about you, but it doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside knowing that the United Nations is starting to try to dictate on all different policy topics within the United States. I mean, probably not a surprise to many of you, and maybe it is a surprise, I don't know. Take a look at the article, and it's amazing that they're trying to use this UN treaty to pressure the federal government into nullifying state law. It's a crazy world that we're living in now, and you start wondering what happened to the Constitution, what happened to our federalist system, what happened to states' rights. We see that within the gun control debate, but we'll get to that in a minute. So. Or we could just get to it right now. So, on the front line of the gun debate battle, we see that California is leading the way. Once again, California leads the way. Who? Not so much. California has started seizing firearms from people that it feels are a threat to society, such as mentally ill people or people who have been convicted of crimes in the past. Apparently there's a special task force in California that was set up, and basically they're combing through databases in the state and national level, looking for people living in the state who may have been under the care of mental health officials anytime in the past, may have been committed either voluntarily or involuntarily for any length of time. And because they don't have any legal standing, what they're doing is going around and knocking on the doors of these people and just asking if they can come in and talk to them, and then asking if there's any firearms in the house and if they could see them, and then they confiscate the firearms. Now, they even talked about in the article how they went to one woman's house and she said, no, I don't think you can come in. no thanks, we'll see you later. And they walked away. They said, well, it didn't work all the time because they're relying on people to be gullible, to be uninformed, and to not understand their rights. And they just expect people just to let them in, and then once they're in your house and you voluntarily show them your firearm, they can confiscate it if you meet certain criteria that the state has passed or the federal government has passed, and even maybe not even legally take your firearms away. The story I was highlighting in here is about a woman who's was involuntarily detained in December for 2 days at a mental health hospital for an evaluation. She let the police into her home. They asked the husband if he had any firearms. He's brought out 2 handguns he had, and they confiscated them. Because under California state law, if you've ever been treated or under the care of a mental health professional, you are not to be in close proximity to a firearm. Even though they're registered to the husband, and he might have had them put away, the fact that she lives in the house means that he can't own the firearms. So, yeah, you got to be careful what's going on. There's a woman in New Jersey who had her weapons taken from her because apparently she was at a meeting, a public meeting regarding property tax increases. And a private company that was hired to do the assessments of the homes in New Jersey there where she lived, somebody called the cops because she wouldn't leave the meeting and she was forcefully removed. And they claimed that she made threats about having a firearm and that she was going to come back with it. Well, police went to her home. They asked, do you have a firearm? She said, yeah, I have a couple firearms that are registered to me. They took them, confiscated them. And because apparently you're guilty until proven innocent, even in New Jersey. So, you know, we have to really be careful about what's going on with our rights. We saw the battles going on in Congress during the hearings the last few days between Senator Feinstein and Senator Cruz from Texas. You know, some people are saying that Ted Cruz is just being rude and condescending. I think Dianne Feinstein said it best herself. She's been there way too long, for 20 years. I think it's time for her to get out. People like her and Lamar Smith, what is it? Senator Lamar from New Hampshire, wherever he's from. I think it's time some of these old senators that have been there for 20, 30 years, living off the government, off the people's dime, it's time for them to go. They think they can dictate, and they're scared. They're scared of what you and I might do with our firearms if they keep clamping down on our freedoms more and more and dictating more and more how we will be enslaved. So I understand how scared they are. They need to understand how scared we are of losing our rights and our freedoms in this country. There's a story that was in the news this last week about what happens when guns are taken away. And then the only people that have guns are the bad guys, the outlaws. And the good people, the citizens of the country, don't have the right to defend themselves. You can look no further than the southern border of the U.S. with Mexico. We had, this last weekend, there was a pretty prolonged gun battle in, this was just south of the border in Reynosa, where dozens of gunmen and some innocent civilians were killed in a gun battle that went on for hours. Now the national government down there federal government down in Mexico, they don't talk about it. They don't let the news report on it. Most of the reports are coming out through the blogosphere, Twitter, other online services, tweets, cell phones, text messages. That's how people are trying to get the news around what's really going on. You know, some people were talking about how there was at least 22 vehicles that were seized by authorities. There were 4 vehicles just filled with bodies, and they say a lot of bodies were carried away by the cartels that were battling it out. There were innocent civilians that were killed. People are scared for their lives, but what can they do? Because the guns were taken away by the Mexican government years ago, that you're not allowed to have these guns to protect yourself. And now the only people that have the guns are the cartels, the outlaws, the bad people, those people that don't care about laws. And they'll do anything they can to keep their power and their control. See, the government can't do anything now because now the outlaws, the gangs, these cartels, they're the ones who control everything. And people live in fear and they can't even protect themselves. This is what can happen when people take away your guns. You know, I joke from time to time about California, how crazy we are, and you know, plenty of you have said you need to move out, you need to move to our state, move here, move there. And I hear you. I hear you. You know, if not for owning a home, having a great job, you know, fortunately having a good job. I shouldn't say great. I mean, I love my job. I've been here 20 years, but we've been under the gun the last couple years. There's been pay freezes, no increases in pay. It's getting difficult when the cost of everything has been going up. There's a pretty interesting little article I'm going to link here under What's Wrong with California. And it shows the difference over the decades, how people used to flock to California and used to see a huge migration of people coming into California. California's population grew tremendously throughout since the gold rush up until, we'll say, the 70s and early 80s. And then the trend stagnated, and then it's reversed. And lately, everyone's been flown out of California. So it's a pretty cool little map. It shows what's been going on with the migration, where people are heading back to, or where they're going from here. Video of the week, it's kind of humorous. Jimmy Kimmel does his little man on the street interviews, and he went out and asked people what they thought about Obama pardoning the sequester. That's right, so pardoning the sequester. It's amazing how people have no idea what's going on around them. They don't know what's going on with their government. They hear sequester and they don't even know what it is, what it means, and how pathetically unimportant it really is. Anyway, check out the video. It's pretty humorous. It might make you laugh so you don't cry. But that's all I've got for this weekend. Don't forget to comment about any of these articles. If you want to do a video response to any of the stories, link down below. Go ahead. We'll get it linked up there. Make sure you know how to link a video. Don't PM me and say you did a video. You got to send it to me as a video response. All right, and we'll get it posted up here too. You know, I always like hearing other people's opinions. Don't take my opinion for anything. You know, there's everybody else has an opinion out there. I'm not saying mine's the correct one or the most accurate. I'm just taking it from different news sources that I find across the internet. Try to stay off things like, you know, crazy websites. But anyway, that's all I've got. You take care this weekend. Spend time with friends, family, have fun. The weather's been improving. It's going to be in the mid-80s this weekend. Well, it's been in the mid-80s for the last few days. It's been kind of nice. So enjoy yourselves. Take care. SOS out. Hey, lady. Learn to drive. Put your cell phone down.